Welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live programs. Thank you for joining us today. Our channel is dedicated to bringing live performances and events from international artists delivered to the audiences around the globe. I am James Welch, and I will be your host today. We are presenting the Gala Auditions. Musicians are auditioning for an opportunity to perform at Weill Recital Hall at Carnegie Hall in Gala concerts in New York City. Auditionees from many countries are seeking guidance and support from the judges through live comments, which you will hear after each performance today. So, a little bit of history about the producers of these programs. We have Progressive Musicians. And Progressive Musicians is an organizer of many competitions and concerts at prestigious venues like Carnegie Hall. Price Attractions, an artist advocate management company. Cicciarone Music and Art is a boutique classical music agency, distributor, and publisher based in the Netherlands and Italy. And last but not least, we have Sound Espressivo, and we have a little trailer for them that we'd like to show you right now. It's kind of fun. Enjoy.
No matter where you are or who you are, music connects us all. We started with a dream, but now we are paving the future. Welcome to the Sound Espressivo Global Competition. Fully virtual, yet bringing musicians closer together than ever before, now on a global scale. True live, inclusivity, diversity, connection, community, an extraordinary array of judges. Get noticed by companies all over the world. Prizes, scholarships, performance opportunities. Apply to be a part of the most exciting congregation of artists like nothing you've ever seen before. We guarantee quality and leave no musician behind. We can't wait to hear you on the virtual stage.
The goal of these auditions is to encourage, nurture, and reward musicians who are proactive about sharing their art and developing their careers. All of our organizations together are providing opportunities for musicians to discover their unique artistic voice, take initiative, present themselves on their own terms, and carve out their own career paths. We don't have any restrictions for anyone auditioning here. There are opportunities for all, and everybody has their own chance for their own musical development and aspirations. Last year was a season full of exciting presentations of cold orchestra soloists in the orchestras in different countries, and this season is growing. We invite musicians, educators, publishers, media managers, artist managers, and many others to share their insights to help musicians and everyone navigate the modern and frankly quite confusing world of music. So, a few words about these auditions. This is the 7th session that we have today, the 7th of 7. We are done with this round of finalist auditions, and everybody is auditioning for a spot on one of our galas at Carnegie Hall. We will be back in December for the cold orchestra auditions, and then back again at the end of January, early February for more Carnegie Gala auditions. So if you would like to be a part of one of these events, one of these wonderful events, visit our websites. And yes, there's an email there, the websites. We are on all those platforms and all those websites. Check us out. Send us a message. We'll get back to you. And we'd love to have you auditioning and hopefully be on one of our wonderful programs. Okay, that being said, we need to get going because we have 5 fabulous finalists today. And first, I'd like to introduce the esteemed judges. Okay, so first up, we have Maestro David Wroe from the New Jersey Festival Orchestra. He'll be conducting Orchestra Manhattan on our galas this season. Next, we have Dekran Atemian, or known as Jack Price, founder of Price Attractions, pianist, artist, manager, first prize winner of the Naumburg competition, and last but not least, known for her bell-like soprano voice, and has recorded for Naxos with new operas and Grammy-nominated Giovanna, Yaqi, Yang. Judges, we have you here for one last session here, and it's just been a great ride hearing all of your wonderful opinions. We've appreciated having you, and we welcome you back one last time. How is everybody today?
Very well indeed. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Introductions are great and chats are great, and I think we're going to have many of that as we go. So I think we're just going to continue with these introductions and get straight to the performances. What do you say?
What do you say? Yes.
What do you say? All right. That's the enthusiasm I was looking for on a Monday morning, right? Yeah. All right. How can I get a yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Thanks, Jack.
Is that good,
All
David? I hope you like it.
And a ding. All right. We'll have to work on that a little bit more. Okay, but I'm excited because we have great performances here by great musicians doing great things. And first up, we have composer Dwight Stone, and we're going to show a video of his composition, score, and recording, The Quantum Effect. So this should be a fun start here, and we're going to welcome Dwight to the virtual stage. Well, that was fun. Wonderful. Hey, Dwight, welcome to the studio here. I really enjoyed your piece. And how you doing today?
Oh, very well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Did you want to say anything about the piece, or just talk about like your inspiration with it, or anything?
Sure. Yeah, I originally wrote it as a string quartet for friends in a quartet back in 2018. And we liked it. And then there was a competition that was the aired competition in 2020. And so I expanded the piece for that. Initially, the vibraphone was the contrasting element of the string quartet, so that the strings have a certain timbre, and I thought the mellowness and the sparkle of the vibraphone would be a nice contrast. So that's the origin of this.
So the vibraphone was the expansion?
Yeah, contrast, I would say.
Oh, okay. What
it
was the original instrumentation?
No, the vibraphone is part of the original composition.
Oh,
and my
okay.
My concept.
Oh, your concept. I got you.
That it would be a contrast.
Oh, wonderful. Now, I have one question for you quickly. The quantum effect. Is that programmatic title, or how did you come up with that? Because I just think it's a neat title.
Oh, I agree. I think it's a neat title.
Is it programmatic to the piece, or is it just
wanted
to call it that?
One of the stretches in the piece, since quantum is definitely the part of the talk of the day, was pushing the envelope using the quarter tones in some of the passages.
Wonderful. And well, I think I'm going to turn this over to the judges here, because I can see they're eager to share some wisdom with you. And let's put David Wroe up first.
I knew it.
Hello, David.
Get the posse out.
Firstly, thank you for introducing us. And Dwight, your first name, correct?
Yes.
Dwight, thank you for bringing to us what I believe in many ways is really quite an accomplished piece of music. Quite clearly, you have leveled a certain mastering of voicing, of counterpoint, of a whole series of orchestrational techniques from color to balancing, which are formidable. And I, as a conductor, very much enjoyed that.
Oh, well, thank you.
It seemed to me to have structure. It had an architecture which made sense to me, not only on paper did it have quite beautiful architecture, but you have done what a lot of composers have not achieved, which is made it look great on paper and not so great once we hear it. But there is a synchronization of architectural skill and beauty on paper, which is translated very, very nicely to our ears. So I also want to congratulate you on that. I think this is quite an accomplished piece.
Well, thank you so much.
And it's, I'm not going to get into the idioms of it. There is traditional classical music, there's impressionism, there's expressionism, there's postmodern, there's what my mother would call squeaky gate music. There's all sorts of types of music. So it's whatever a composer chooses, what idiom language they choose, that's their choice. And so I have no comment on whether it's conservative leading or forward leaning. I want to just focus on some attempted objectivity in judgment. And that's a horrible word to say because, it implies you're going to get a lecturing, which is I don't want to do. But our role here is simply to express our confidence. I'm using up my time, so I'm just going to mention two things that sprung to mind when listening to this. One is a pure orchestrational element, and I'm glad you mentioned that the vibraphone became the vibraphone came an elemental force in this. However, and this also applies to a certain extent to the piano in this piece. In my humble opinion, certain instruments, the vibraphone and piano included, for me are more of a spice within the dish as opposed to the meat and potatoes. The color is so unique, so special, and with anything else that it might be doubling or coupling with or counterpointing with, it transforms everyone else's sound to such a degree that it is one of the most flavorful present instruments in the orchestra. I would argue the piccolo is another one. You can't keep a piccolo down. In my opinion, there was too much vibraphone and too much piano in that. Essentially, from beginning to end, everything else was touched by the color of the vibraphone and or the piano. And whereas at the beginning I thought, oh, this is interesting, whereby after 25 bars I said, oh, okay, so the vibraphone is a significant part of this work. Where it got to measure 50, I thought, okay, thank you. I've had enough of Mr. Vibraphone, but jolly good. I've enjoyed you so far. But when it got to about 3/4 of the way through, I started wanting to hit myself on the head to make the vibraphone sound go away.
Oh.
Now, I'm being a little facetious in what I'm saying there. But you get my drift. Too much of a good thing can turn sickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I would rethink that timbre of certain instruments and use them more judiciously. Unless you want to call it quantum vibraphone concerto.
Well,
now, the other thing I want to say is a structural one. I love how you build climaxes, both in adding different counterpoints, from making a single a melody to a single counterpoint, to adding 2, to adding 3. The lines are just beautiful. And I noticed at the beginning, you had this long pedal note on the D, I think it was. And by the way, I sometimes try and, as a conductor, try and prize myself with knowing which composers used the longest pedal notes. Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony, Last Movement springs to mind. Some Mahler, that one in the timpani, which I think is also a D. I can't remember. Mahler does it in his Sixth Symphony. That goes. I mean, these pedal notes go on for 3-4 minutes. You also had a wonderful pedal note over which you built other ideas, and it came to a climax to that stop. Then it came to that little middle section, which was slightly quicker, but then didn't get into the, for want of a better word, the quicker tempo, the allegro. I felt you let me down at that moment because you built up a great climax, and then you added some new material at a new tempo, which was a sort of a transition into the faster movement, but you kept that pedal note. And again, I'd had enough. I would love you to consider turning this actually into a single movement, like a fantasy, not 4 distinct sections, which begin 1, 2, 3, 4, actually. Yes, I think you had, because you had a recap of the opening ideas. Rather than having 4 distinct sections which stop, and for me stunted the momentum, somehow find it to be through composed all the way. And I would do something about that pedal note in the second section, because it stops that transition. It drags me too much into the opening, and I'm getting bored. Now, those are some tough comments.
Indeed.
But that's what other than that, I thought this was a very, very accomplished composition indeed, and I thank you for it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate that, and I can see your points. Just one statement about the vibraphone. It was in the initial concept, it was half of the piece because it was the balance between the string quartet and the vibraphone. And I liked what you said. It could be called a vibraphone concerto.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, all of our opinions here are subject to creativity in many ways too, and you never know. I mean, you might give birth to a new piece after this, and have two versions. You know, like Liszt, Totentant. How many?
We all evolve.
You know, I mean, definitely. But let's move on. We have two more judges here, eager to share wisdom. Giovanna.
Congratulations on the audition. Your work is very beautiful. It has a very well-shaped motifs and melody that develops throughout the entire piece. And your work has a very good balance of different materials, blending the tension and release in a way that feels natural and harmonious. It's very impressive. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. And Jack.
Well, that was very concise compared to David's Schenker analysis of the piece, although it wasn't Schenkerian in its analysis. First thing that comes to mind when I heard this, first thing I thought of is Dick Cavett. Does anybody remember Dick Cavett?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of the Dick Cavett show. You know, dun 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 dun. I mean.
Candide.
It was, I mean, yeah, that's right. Believe it or not, because it's all the same. I mean, this is what I thought of Bernstein's music in general. I'm not a big fan. I thought Bernstein was a phenomenal salesman, but it's a little light on the sauce. No, Dwight, I found. I'll be general. I want to go into detail, but I think not. It was too much of a good thing, perhaps. The sound was homogeneous. It sounds like milk. It's all white. The Brahms D minor, it is not. But anyway, I mean, we got to have a little comedy relief here. Otherwise, you can't laugh. Where's Larry when you need him?
Well,
no, look, I mean, it was
hit
just.
The limit, Jack, we'll hit the gong. Don't worry.
Well, I think it's time for the gong. But anyway,
there we go.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So
no, well, yeah, no. We're not going to do that host of that show just quit at that point and everybody beat him up.
Careful what you wish for.
I wish. I think it's in Amadeus, Salieri talks about a squeeze box. The beginning of that serenade of Mozart. It sounds like a little squeeze box, and then it develops into this gorgeous thing. I think you have to do the development part. This piece to me is not gorgeous. It is the same texture and feeling and emotional value throughout. I think there's something to be said about variety, but not for variety's sake. I've talked about this with other contestants. You don't want to be different just to be different. It has to be organic. To quote a conductor I know, you might know him, David. He's no longer with us, 6 feet under. But anyway, I think we need variety here, but not for variety alone. It has to have it's like, it's kind of like a grease trap. Have you ever owned a restaurant? You know, when they come to pump the grease trap, it's like an amalgamation of everything everyone's eaten for the past 3 months. So it's all mush. You know what I mean? It's all the same. It reminds me of that and Dick Cavett. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack. Dwight, did you have any questions you wanted to ask or anything you wanted to add?
That last kind of took my breath away. No,
Mine too.
yeah.
You know, I mean, if I could elaborate on the grease trap, I mean, I love the food that
I
comes
think
from
in a
that
piece
grease.
like this, there's only so much that can be done in 6 minutes, and
Indeed.
so yeah, I can picture, expanding portions or greater development, and I get the point about things sounding the same, but there are certain constraints when you're initially working with strings and the
Yeah,
violin
that's true.
Very
as
true.
your departure.
Valid point.
So I
There's no
hope you
doubt.
enjoyed the piece as it is. And thank you very much for your comments and suggestions.
Dwight,
And I look forward to writing more.
Thank you for bringing this to our auditions today. It was a lovely piece. I'm not a judge. I'll add one comment. When I was studying music and very little composition, I had one teacher who said one thing that stuck with me that I will pass on to all of us here, or remind us, is that you can't use all of your ideas in one composition because then you'll have no more compositions. So
That's a good point.
so
Good point.
all of your ideas, we look forward to hearing them in other pieces of yours. And I can see that you have your website listed under your name there. Is it stonemusique.com?
Stone Musique, yeah.
Yeah. So
French way.
we can check out so many more pieces of yours there, and we look forward to doing that. And thank you for being here today, Dwight.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Dwight.
and thank you to the judges.
Thanks,
All right,
Dwight.
moving
Thanks, Dwight.
on, we have an oboist, Amanda Smith, and she'll be playing Hummel's introduction, theme, and variation. Amanda, welcome to the stage. Bravo. Bravo, Amanda. And welcome back
Fantastic.
to our virtual stage here. It's great to hear you again. I remember your lovely Mozart performance from a few months ago, and it's so great to hear you again playing Hummel. It was very lovely. And first, before we move on here, I would like to bring on the fabulous and amazing Anna Ouspenskaya, who will be taking over the hosting and broadcasting here. Anna, welcome back here. How are you today?
Thank you, James, for a glorious introduction, and welcome everyone to this program. It's such a great pleasure to be hosting this session of the auditions. Thank you, judges, and thank you, candidates. Amanda, I was watching your performance. It's really great. And thank you all. We will be moving to hear the comments from the judges. And let's see. Giovanna, would you like to go first?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Amanda. Congratulations on your beautiful performance. Your technique is great. Like most of the pieces are in control. There are just like slightly, like you can extend a little bit the dynamic range to make the piece more expressive. And another thing is when you have a long phrase going downward, especially at the beginning of this piece, it can be a little bit smoother because there has a little bit like tiny breaks and gaps, especially when you go downward for a big leaps during a long phrase. Other than that, it's all good. Very impressive.
Thank you, Giovanna. That was really concise and very constructive. Thank you. Well, let's hear it from Jack.
Well, I mean, I thought it was a fantastic performance, but I love your playing. It's just, it's perfect. I mean, it's just wonderful playing. I don't know what Mr. Wroe thinks, but I find this kind of playing. First of all, Neopunk Hummel's relatives would love to hear from you. They live in San Diego. And how do I know this? Anything Hummel they want to hear about. The F sharp minor piano sonata, the concertos. Anytime there's anything Hummel, they want to hear about it. They love Hummel. Obviously, they're related to him. So you should contact them. I forgot what their address is and everything, but we can get it. Anyway, the playing is just what I found you're playing to be like a roadmap. I didn't even need the accompaniment at all. Now I remember kind of hearing this piece, maybe, but I can't really say. But I found myself anticipating each of those little movements as you played. It's almost like you suggested the tempi and the whole thing of the next variation from the previous variation, which is, I think, a great compliment, because music is born from something. Each note is born from the previous note or passage or chord. It comes out of it like a baby. It's like it's baby. And you presented it. I mean, it was so convincing. I don't think I even want to hear the accompaniment. I just want to hear your glorious voice. It was just incredible. And to be honest, you make Hummel sound better than he really is, because he's really quite, I hate to say it, but I know his music quite well. I was going to present a whole recital of Hummel in New York until my manager said, I don't think so.
I'm busy that day.
Yeah, I'm busy that day. Can I take a rain check? Can I hear a recording? Preferably one taken from the back of the hall. No.
Yeah, do you have a full Chopin program sometime next month or something?
I think my joke is the funniest. Can we have a recording from the back of the hall? Or you go up to Hummel and say, this music is out of this world. Anyway, if you were a pianist, Amanda, if you were a pianist, I would say, I've never heard anyone dig into the keys like that. But getting back to your playing, your breath control, I mean, it's just I mean, I don't even care if something's wrong with it. It's you. You got your brand on it. It's gorgeous playing. Who wouldn't want you in an orchestra? Right, Maestro?
Wonderful.
I'll
Thank you.
pass the
Those are
baton. I now pass the baton to Maestro Wroe from Liverpool. Hello.
All right.
Yeah, let's hear from Maestro David Wroe. And that's an interesting thing. First, Jack, you dismissed the need of accompaniment, and now you're passing the baton to the
Not only
maestro,
that, we
maestro
now
accompaniment.
yes, we don't need we don't need a narrator or an accompaniment or a conductor for that matter.
All right, let's hear
Gong.
from
Yeah,
David.
that's a good one. Yeah, that's good.
David, please.
Well,
I like that.
thank you, Anna. Good to see you. And thank you, colleagues, for those comments. Amanda, thank you for presenting us this this piece of music. I'm going to share some things I enjoyed, and then I am going to share some things that compromise my enjoyment. Firstly, I enjoy the sound that you make. It's quite rich, and there are various timbres, elemental timbres that can come out of an oboe, as you know, depending on the player and the instrument. But yours is a rich tone, and also it has projection, even on these these compromised audio systems that we're dealing with here, listening to you from all over the country. There are moments where you have this wonderful, powerful projection, trumpet-like almost in power and in timbre, which that's a color I very much enjoy in oboe playing. It's a personal thing I enjoy. So thank you for that. Secondly, clearly your technique is solid, and I would both commend and agree with Giovanna on both her comment that she made that you are, rock solid with your technique. However, I'm now going to be a little tougher than my colleagues in my thoughts about your presentation. I would also agree with Giovanna that it needs 60, 70, 80% more musical variety. She said it in a different way, much more sophisticated and elegant sounding, but I'm going to go right to the point in that as soloists, we have a responsibility to interpret and bring to the fore all those things that the composer wanted, but weren't necessarily written down, but are innate in the progression of notes, etc., etc. So I would have loved to have a much more deeper and stronger personal interpretation of the work. So I would encourage you to think more about that. If you're presenting yourself as a soloist, that is. And that world is very, very competitive, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say about that piece of music. So you're in a very, very tough environment. The other thing is, I want to talk to you about an honest conversation with you about tempo. Now, with my memory, there are only 2 or 3 tempi markings. One is allegretto, when the theme gets going, and the other, if I remember correctly, is when the waltz comes in, and the marking is tempo de valse, not too presto, ma non troppo presto. If I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. Now, I found the whole of this piece for you, other than the beginning, too slow. That slowness, combined with your rich tempo, can cross the border from being, colorful and stately, to heavy and hard work, which to me it came over as being. Allegretto is on the in my opinion, is on the slightly slow side of a fast tempo, if we're just talking about, pure tempo, but also it to me, it holds a character. Allegretto has a lightness, has a sprightliness to it. It's not its feeling is not a compromise of a slow tempo, but a compromise of a fast tempo. So your theme to me was too heavy. It was hard work. It was laborious. When we came to the tempo, the waltz, and I'm being brutal here because my brutality is on a bed of really quite impressive work. The second one, tempo de valse, man va troppo presto. That's saying, don't make it too bloody fast. It's not making it adagio or making it an allegretto, but it's the composer, I think, is saying, well, when lots of people might come to this, they might play it the fastest they can possibly can. But play it fast, but not too fast. Yours was really a leisurely Emperor Waltz tempo. So I think you were in completely the wrong room with regards to that. All these things combine to make it, again, just on the heavy, whether it be your color, whether it be an interpretation of tempo, whether it be interpretation of the color of the tempo, it made it just, for a solo performance, for me, it needs to go to the next level. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Thank you, judges. Amanda, do you have any questions, anything you would like to clarify with the judges? Well, we have all of you here. We can't hear you. You're muted. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much for all your feedback.
Okay. You have no questions? Nothing you want to share?
No,
okay. All right. Well,
thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, excellent. This was a wonderful presentation by.
Can I ask
Amanda.
a question?
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem. Please.
Anna, do you have a recording of one of the? Did Mozart write more than one oboe concerto, or just one?
Amanda, that's a question to you.
I know of the one in C major, but I also played one that was written for strings, but it was also in an oboe concerto format.
Do you have a recording of it with orchestra?
Yes.
I would love to hear it. Can you send it to me?
Absolutely.
You can find my email, priceattractions.com.
Okay.
Just send. I would love to hear it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much again. We were presenting Amanda Smith on oboe with the Hummel introduction theme and variations, and we are moving on to presenting the next performer, who will be Joshua Lee, a double bass player performing Bottesini Bass Concerto in A minor, number 2, first movement. Joshua, the virtual stage is all yours. We're looking forward to your performance. That is quite spectacular. Thank you so
Spectacular
much.
poem.
Yeah, I love that virtuosic technique, and you're using the cello grip on the bow. That's very interesting to observe. I wanted to ask if you please share the name of your fabulous collaborative pianist. We would like to thank your pianist and also to give the name to all the audience members so everybody knows who she is. Would you like to please introduce her?
I would like to thank Zoe, my amazing pianist who accompanied me today.
At one point,
Bravo.
maybe, yeah, bravo. Thank you. And at one point, maybe you can type in the chat the name so we can put it on the screen. Bravo, wonderful ensemble, great support. Now to the judges. Let's see. David, would like to go first? You're muted.
Hello, Joshua.
Hi.
Joshua, thank you very much for that. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know where to start. Firstly, you're a very sensitive musician. You bring variety to the presentation. You are truly interpreting it. You're not just playing the notes. You look at those black dots and those lines, and you see a whole language jumping off the page, and it infiltrates your body, and it comes out in a wonderful performance. Thank you for that. You are already in the top 1% of quality musicians on this earth.
Thank you.
And I'm talking now just about interpretation. Let's talk a little about your technique. I'm glad Anna mentioned your bow technique. It's in the new world. It's a little more common, isn't it, than the German grip? But you have a wonderful bowing arm.
Thank you.
That I think facilitates this aspect of your technique facilitates your interpretation. But it has power. It has legato, the chain, the bow change is really very impressive. A quick question. You seem to hold it. It might be an optical illusion from my camera, but you seem to hold that bow quite far up the stick. Is that deliberate, or am I seeing that incorrectly?
Or
is it in a normal place for a bow? I'm not a bass player myself, but just seemed at times it was creeping up the stick a little, and I'm just, or maybe I'm wrong. Tell me.
I think sometimes naturally it does when I get a little tired. So
naughty.
Yeah.
keep because you'll lose. I think that'll add tension, won't it? And maybe a little power, but that's all right. I'm just niggling on silly details. The only comment I'll make, and then I'll hand it over to my colleagues. I'm not sure whether it was nerves or just the extraordinary technical difficulty of intonation in those upper positions, thumb positions, and right up there, up in the stratosphere. Sometimes it was spot on. Sometimes it was just a little off. But I'm gonna express a note of concern. Sometimes it was slightly off on a long note, and that tells me you're not listening. Because if you were, you'd correct it with a slight shift here and there, where on a long note, when you're not going anywhere, there's no technical problems you have to deal with. So it tells me you weren't policing your intonation quite as well as you could. And I just want you to think about that. Make sure that, there are so many things for us as performers to think about, technically, intellectually, but never stop listening. So just more at the beginning. It got better, but at the beginning, I would recommend you police your intonation in the upper range just a little more by forcing yourself to listen to every single note you play and have a little alarm bell that goes off in your head if it's not there. Other than that, I thought it was nothing less than spectacular.
Thank you for the comments. Let's move on to Giovanna.
Yes. Congratulations. Your voice, your performance was impressive. And I can feel you're a very sensitive musician. Your technique is good. But I do agree with David. I think, especially when you're having the upward musical phrase, just be aware of the intonation, especially for the highest note. You're just a little bit slightly flat. Other than that, I would suggest you can be more expressive. Don't be afraid of taking more time during some phrases to emphasize your emotion. Yeah, that's it. Very good.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, Joshua, this is a comment always coming from really excellent singers, professionals, and I always listen to them. I always want to, as instrumentalists, to take time because when you're performing a line, they're singing along. So what I adopted is to sing along with my own playing, just internally sing along, and then it's an organic way to see where and how much time you take for those breaths. Let's go on to Jack, please, with your comment.
Yeah, the only thing I wish is that my friend Gary Carr was here to hear you. This spectacular playing. Have you played at his camp or met Gary or played for him?
No.
You should. I hope he's still alive. You know, I haven't talked to him in a while. I have some great jokes from him, but we won't tell them now. But what a spectacular player. And he would just flip over your playing. I know that for a fact. I mean, it was just incredible playing. I don't have my Batman decoder watch on to, catch all the little things. But overall, I mean, I personally just thought it was incredible. I know the piece quite well. I've heard a lot of people play it. Believe it or not, you'll wonder why a pianist heard double bass players, but I've heard quite a few. And maybe it's Oberlin or something like that. Yes, lots of double bass. Wininski comes to mind. Some guy named Wininski. Bad. Anyway, you were phenomenal. I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm really serious. I mean, it was absolutely, it reminds me of, those cello concertos. What's that one that's famous, David? I guess it's Boccherini, right?
Oh, the unplayable one.
Be.
One of the Boccherini concertos is just an absolutely unplayable for cello.
Yeah, well, talk about unplayable. This guy's playing an instrument that's unplayable. I mean, come on.
True.
I mean, this is, listen, Gary plays all the Paganini caprices on the double bass. I don't know how, but I bet he could do it too. And musically, it was superb playing, in my opinion, humble as it may be. But I thought the thing you do that nobody practically does is you don't delay the downbeat. I cannot stand that. You really go for it. And you know which notes are auxiliary and which notes are principal. And that's an absolute key thing in music making is, I just love these people who try to make a 16th note passage musical. Excuse me, that is a means to an end. It's not the end. It's not the beginning. It's a bridge. And you understand that perfectly. Not to mention that your harmonic sense is absolutely, you just nail it. Okay. So don't abandon that. In other words, you feel it. The harmony, you feel it here, and then it goes here, and then it comes out there, and it's just presented to us in a magnificent way. I'm just like I'm what's the word? I'm at your feet. It's just, you're a great player. I agree with David. He puts you in the top 1%. Wow, that's for David Wroe. That's quite a compliment, I must say. That's quite a compliment. And that is an imitation, David, but not of you. I'll also imitate another conductor here. I would say, what is your name?
David.
David. Okay. David, this was spectacular. You know who that is? David, the Boccherini was spectacular. This is a Polish conductor.
Irish dude?
No, spectacular. You got to get the dialect, man. Okay, I'm going to say it again. David, the Boccherini was spectacular.
Okay, put us out of our misery, Richie.
Grzegorz Novak. who won the Ensemble competition and all the auxiliary prizes, I'll have you know. So it was spectacular, and might I say, quite unique. I like your space between the notes, which also has to do with nothing but the harmony, because it dictates policy, nothing else, or actually the bass line. It was absolutely innate. You're just a natural, like the movie, you know, the baseball player, you know, you're a natural. There's just nothing to say. I have no criticism whatsoever. I want to hear that. What's that Kusevitsky piece?
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Let's hear that next. You know, that would be spectacular. That would be spectacular.
That's a great invitation, Joshua. Have you
Put
played
us our
that Kusvitsky unplayable piece?
yeah, I have played it
I
last
would imagine you have.
March.
I'm sure you played it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, judges, and most of all, thank Joshua for bringing this really
Yeah.
wonderful piece and for presenting it with such a fluency and such an exquisite presentation of it. Once again, I would like to thank your collaborative pianist because it's so easy to, not be with you where you need the pianist to be, and she was. So if we can hear the name one more time, please.
Zoe?
Zoe.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoe.
Zoe what?
What's the last name?
Joe.
Zoe Joe.
Zoe Joe. Hey, that's catchy. I like that.
Let's remember that name. You're a really wonderful supporter of your soloist. So, thank you both, and thank you for presenting today and for applying for these auditions. We will be moving on to the next candidate, and the next we have a conductor, Carolina Rodriguez, and she will be presenting Robert Patterson, Hell's Kitchen. Carolina, the stage is all yours. We're looking forward to presenting your performance. joining you in with my applause. What an interesting piece, and rhythmically so challenging. Thank you, Carolina, for bringing this piece. I never heard it before, and for your exquisite execution of it. We will start comments with David, conductor to conductor.
Hello, Carolina. Is it Carolina or Carolina or
Carolina? Yes.
Hello, Carolina.
Hello,
Carolina.
It's okay. It's okay.
Thank you so much for that. I loved what I saw and heard on so many levels today. Again, I'm not quite sure where to start, and to pre-seal my thoughts into in a couple of minutes is going to be difficult, but I'll attempt. Firstly, what a fun piece.
Very much.
And imaginatively presented, both humorous, but had a depth to it. And so congratulations for bringing that piece to us.
Thank you.
But we're not here to talk about the piece. We're here to talk about you. Let's start off with things that I enjoyed about it. Firstly, clearly you have a very, very solid technique, which is, I would say, 70%, 60% of us getting to the where we want to be in our conducting lives. You are clear, you're precise, your beat, your ictus is very, very easily read. You know, just in terms of keeping the beat, you enhance everyone's. You're a net plus in enabling the musicians to perform, which is the essential element of beating, isn't it? Even though I'm sure we'll agree that beating is maybe only 30% of our responsibilities and why we're there, because musicians can count. But technique-wise and clarity, very, very fine. Secondly, I could see that you knew the score really quite well, which is another key element of our profession. So congratulations on that. You knew it, and that was betrayed to me by the fact that you were giving leads well. You were engaging with the musicians to, again, help them do what they needed to do with terms of entrances, leads, etc., etc. All right, so let's put that aside. Bravo. Now we're going to talk at a very, very high level. You are quite clearly at a professional level and really quite accomplished. So now let's talk at a whole nother level. I think you actually beat too much. I'm going to go back to the comment that I made a couple of minutes ago that musicians, most of them, can count, and therefore, and whereas this is a contemporary piece, I would argue that this is not too complex. Technically, the instruments, it's quite difficult here and there, but beat-wise, it's not that difficult. And I think you beat too much. You give them more than they actually need in terms of pure beat. Now, that was proven in a moment when the percussion turned his back to you and played those pots and pans for at least about 3-4 seconds. He couldn't see you, but I thought he played completely in rhythm. Mm-hmm. So why were you beating for him? That's a rhetorical question. Just have a think about it. But that's an example of many other moments in the piece where you can give more responsibility to the player for simply keeping the beat going. So have a think about that. So what we need to do is to, in the analysis, when we're on our own at a desk, studying the piece of music, in addition to interpreting it, going through a process of saying, where can I do less gesture? And I think you do that to a certain amount, to a certain extent. You beat and conduct, and then you did a bigger beat to bring someone in, and quite clearly you're differentiating at a basic level between small and large beats and being more present and being less. And I congratulate you for that, but it needs to be taken to a whole nother level. That's one point. Second point is, and actually this is related to and by the way, I just want to back up in me saying that. Unfortunately, if we were working together, I would demonstrate particular places where you wouldn't need to beat so much, but because we're here and we only have a second, it's difficult for me to say that. So just
Yes.
that's a general thought for you to think about. Do
Thank you.
less when you don't need to. The only other comment I want to say, because I don't want to dominate to this too much, is variety, and it's connected to this concept, but it's connected to the beat gesture, but it's more now in terms of interpretation. I would search for more gestural variety.
Mhm.
It is a contemporary piece, I get that. You mirror the left hand and the right hand a little too much for me. If it was in terms of a guesstimate of percentile of when your left hand and right hand is going out and in together, I would say about 80%. And I would cut that in half. I find ways to give the beat, be gestural, give the leads, do all these technical stuff, things that you need to do, but use it with one hand, or find more gestural variety, so one arm is not simply mirroring the other. Because if they are, then why not just chop one arm off completely? Because the other's doing because the other arm is doing the work.
Oh, very good, David. That's a good one.
The other arm is doing the work of that, isn't it? And they're all close enough to see one arm.
Thank you. Yes.
You have to not just move your arms because it's an instinctual thing that it has to be doing something, but again, minimizing your gesture, and then each arm can have a separate role. Now these are detailed, high quality stuff that need to be really demonstrated and worked on with individual pieces. But these are two comments I would have you think about. But there's a lot there that I like, and clarity is one. Knowing your business in terms of knowing the music is two, and actually just not being irritating when I'm looking at you. You don't look out of place. Other than the chef's hat.
I was about to say, even with that.
No, but taking that aside, and on a serious note, you don't look out of place. You look an integral part of the ensemble, and that is another important thing with conductors, because we don't make a sound. We have to be a net plus on stage there, and you very much looked as though you were an integral and a part and an asset, and demonstrating a leadership which was quite formidable, and I congratulate you on that.
Thank you, Maestro. Thank you.
Thank you, David, very much. And we will move on and have Jack add to the comments, please.
Well, David, I can think of a few other things in terms of conductors that I like to chop off. I can think of many since I've had these experiences. We won't comment on them. There are many things we could chop off. Anyway, Carolina, I thought it was terrific. I really did. And I would venture to say, David, if it was other repertoire, we wouldn't be talking about how big her conducting is, or how martial it is, or that it wasn't this or that. First of all, I thought it was spectacular, but I would say one thing. Zell conducted with his eyebrows, okay? So, and I know that for a fact. I'm sure David has heard that little anecdotal remark, but I had a very good friend, several in the Cleveland Orchestra, that told me you always knew Zell's mood by his eyebrows. So, I think conductors, if I might say, David and Carolina, they're a little too big for their britches. And I don't mean it in an arrogant versus humble way. I mean, the gestures are just, I mean, what is Bernstein doing on the stage? I mean, I can think of a few things, but it's not expressing himself or conducting. I mean, you know what Bernstein was great at? He was a great salesman. Stick to what you're good at. Anyway, so the point is, in my opinion, and you're a beautiful woman, so we've got that going for us, not to be sexist or anything, but there are a lot of female conductors around. And, this is a big deal. And I'm talking about marketability now. Maybe I'm not. But anyway, the point is, you don't need to do much. You've already got it all. You're doing, I can read what you're doing. I mean, I don't know this piece, but I mean, you're an excellent conductor, like he said, and it's on a high level and blah, blah, blah. But I think it's, can we have a gong? I've said too many ridiculous things. Yeah, I mean, I've said ridiculous things already by now, so we need a gong for me, not for you. Anyway, so the thing is, Carolina, I think it's too big. Gustav used to say that in, yes, Mr. Well, Did you ever get that, David? David,
I did. I studied with him for 4 years.
He would say something to you like, and he would sound like Count Dracula. You would say something. He would say, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I said to Gustav, I said, "That's because you haven't studied." Okay. Anyway, yes, conductors, they're a breed unto themselves, but I found it to be very compelling, stylistically very, what's the word? There's a word, David. What is it? Stylistically appropriate, but it's another fantastic word. And you're so good with those Liverpool comments, So,
Not
just
sure
come up.
I didn't know what you're talking about.
No, that's not it. No, sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm Swiss, so I don't know. No, anyway, so look, just, it's like in Amadeus. He says, well, just cut a few notes, and then Mozart says, what? Which notes, maestro, would you like me to cut? Or whatever, the emperor. Just make it small, Mm-hmm. I should have been a conductor,
You talk enough.
Thank you. This is great comments, and
Thank you.
We would like to also hear
What a
from
riot.
Giovanna, please. Carolina, you're getting perspective from the conductor, from the pianist who's worked with some of the greatest conductors of all times, and now you're going to hear from a singer, an opera singer,
Wonderful.
Who also works with many conductors. So that's the feedback from 3 different angles. Giovanna, would you
Great.
please?
Thank you.
Hi, Carolina.
Hello.
I think it's really impressive, and your interpretation brought a very fresh perspective to this piece, especially in the way how you handled the dynamic. As an opera singer, I think it's super clear. Yes,
Good.
and it's very clear that you've done your work on the score and your ability to show the structure and nuances with deep understanding. Very clear, comfortable, confident gesture, and precise and effective communication. And you gauged with the musician very effectively, which I really love it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes,
I think
please,
we
of
need to
course.
learn a lot from Yaqi, Giovanna. I'm sorry. She is so concise and so articulate and so perfect. I think David and I should shut our mouths.
You're
come up
here
with-
to give variety of perspective. So we welcome your comments in improvised form or really polished form, whichever one comes, right, Carolina?
Absolutely, please.
That's what we're here for.
I'd be happy to hear a few Carolina's thoughts on the comments.
Please,
Thank you.
Carolina.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for all of your comments and the humor. I completely understand the feedback that I'm receiving. And that's something that as I was watching the video today, my thought was, too big, too much. So exactly what you said is what my self-critique was in line with. Not justifying this, I think I was feeling an over responsibility to keep the beats, also because we had the fortune of having Robert Patterson, the composer, with us. And during the dress rehearsal, he made some changes, took out some parts of the music. I had to count with the other hand. There was all of this. So I think it was a bit of overcompensation. But I absolutely agree with what you're saying. And yes, the variety and all of this. So I appreciate all of your feedback. And Giovanna, this means a lot, especially coming from someone who's following the conductor. I started out with opera conducting, so it really is meaningful that you would say that you could understand. So thank you very much for all of your comments.
Thank you, Carolina.
Yeah, bravo.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carolina, for bringing this wonderful conducting yours
Beautiful.
to the auditions. Beautiful. Thank you, judges, for your comments. We will be moving on to the last candidate of today's session. And I want to remind everyone, we are on the session 7 of the auditions for the opportunity to perform or present newly composed music at the Weill Recital Hall at Carnegie Hall. And today is the last day of the 2 weeks marathon of auditioning. Our next performer and composer is Yin Huang. She will be performing her own composition, Silk Road, on an original theme and variations. And I'll take a moment to announce all the names of the variations because it's a programmed piece, and these names will help everyone understand what the story is behind this composition. Movement number 1, Silk Road, began in Xi'an, China. 2, Great Wall, Beijing. 3, crossing the Pamir Mountains which belong to Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan, China, and Pakistan. 4, Stamps. 5, Turkish Night. 6, Venice, Italy. 7, White Silk. 8, Raga Music, India. 9, Gagaku Music, Japan. 10, Valencia, Spain. Enjoy this beautiful piece, and Yin, the stage is all yours. Looking forward to your performance. Oh, no.
Great job.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Let's hear from Jack first.
Yeah, Yin Yin, this is very convincing. It's similar to your last piece, but quite different. It's very, very good, very convincing. I liked all of the different elements this time, the way they kind of worked together. It made sense to me. I love the effects, the thing in the piano. I had a composer, a very avant-garde composer, who wrote some stuff that was very not like this, but they used the inside of the piano, and it was an effective use of that little glissandi on the strings, and the rhythm thing with the what's that instrument? It's some kind of a bongo or something.
It's a Persian instrument that
Okay,
I'm imitating the sound, because the Indians a lot influence the Persian,
Well, I'm not too interested naturally with my personality and how many times Beethoven went to the bathroom, but I was interested in that particular instrument. But it was effective. It was part of a cohesive whole. Yeah, it was part of a cohesive whole. It made sense. The programmatic stuff, I have to say, I didn't really remember any of that stuff. So it had no effect on my perception of the piece. I was coming at it strictly musically. I didn't remember one thing that Anna said. So I forgot, the Great Wall of China, or, Szechuan chicken or anything, whatever it was. The point is that's a good thing. That's a compliment because yes, no gong, because I approached it just musically, and by the way, you're a very good pianist. I like your approach to the piano. It's interesting, this little flat finger deal. I like it.
Thank
nice. You. Yeah, you have a control over the instrument. I notice things, once in a while. After all, I'm a Pisces, so we notice things.
Thank you.
You had an interesting angle too with you mostly outstretched your arm, which gives you more control. I don't know if you know that or not, but you had really good control over the trills and the effects with the trills. And the bongo deal and all that stuff was very nice. I was really intrigued by this piece,
Thank you.
Very, very intriguing. That's a good word. Interesting. The biggest crime in music is to be boring. It was not. It was the antithesis of boring. I really liked it. It wasn't even narcotic at times, which some of this stuff can be. Like Chinese water torture or something, but it was excellent. It was excellent. And I believe excellent is, it's very, very good thing to achieve.
Thank you for the master. Yeah.
Excellence. No, I'm not a master. I'm a master of some weird things, but I'm not a master in the sense that the master. I've mastered some very unusual things in life. But this is not one of them. I'm just simply a fan of music. I love music, and I can't dissect it like some others can, but I would say it was very convincing.
Thank you, Jack, very much for the comments. Let's hear from Giovanna.
Hi, Ying. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Giovanna.
It is such an amazing work. I love how you put together different and special materials and skills to make the music authentic. Especially like the pentatonic skill of like the China to make the simplicity of the Eastern music, and even when without looking at the movement's name, I can guess the place and the topic according to your music, which is super nice.
Wow.
Yes, and for the Another part is I love your counterpoint in the music and the variety of how you make full use of the instrument and so creative to combine different timbre, which is super good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Giovanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna. Yeah, I noticed also the range of instruments you're using. Everything, all 88 keys practically, plus some more unusual effects. And it was really cool to hear when you covered the string and you were playing on a key and it sounded clumped. That was a very interesting sound effect. Okay, let's hear from David.
Okay. Hello, Yin Yin.
Hi.
So thank you for giving us this composition. So I'm going to be a little more brutal.
Please.
I do agree with some of the things that my colleagues have said. However, I just want to go through a little discovery with you.
Yes, please.
Firstly, actually, my biggest compliment to you, and it's a heartfelt one, is that composers are some of the bravest people in the music business because they have to build up their confidence to and inner strength to be able to create something and then put it out to the world for everyone to listen to and judge. And that you do that is a compliment to you, and it shows a certain inner strength that you've demonstrated in your life, and you've also demonstrated to us. Now, let's take it to the next level.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the title of this piece, and I'm looking at the descriptives. Silk Road, Xiang, China, Great Wall, Beijing, crossing the Pamir Mountains, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkish. No, it's the most exotic, sensually stimulating, out of the ordinary, completely something different from everything it is normal in my life. Kind of title, right? It is extremely exotic and unusual. The title is almost like me going to the Amazon and discovering a new tribe that has never seen Western human beings before. It's that the title tells me it's that. Wow. Again, repeating myself, exotic.
Wow.
However, I do not find your musical language so. I think the musical language that you've chosen, other than the odd idiosyncratic mimicking of different music of different nationalities, not mimicking, that's too strong a word, but implementation of pentatonic scales, flattened seconds, sharpened sevenths, other than certain melodic idiosyncrasies of certain ethnic musical languages, your language is quite conservative.
Yeah.
It's based in the Western tradition. Now, not only is it based in the Western tradition, your passage work, whether they be arpeggiations, whether they be chord structures, it's quite conservative and it's quite Western. You're drawing from your education in the Western world for Western music. And I don't think the title fits the sound. I mean, Mendelssohn wrote his Scottish Symphony. Okay, he's got the word Scotland in there, but there's not much Scotch in that, I can tell you. Not much whiskey in that. Beethoven wrote some, Scottish dancers, bagatelles, folk bagatelles. There's not much smell of cow dung or folk in those pieces.
What about the Pastoral Symphony? Is it
Yeah,
pastoral?
right.
Yeah.
I think the first person one of the few first people who really successfully started to integrate Western and Eastern music was Debussy, and not many before that. Whether it is Vieille Stamp or Palais du Silence or a whole series of his other works, he's now integrating in a very original and genuine and honest way East meets West. And I think if you're not just composing for yourself, I would encourage you to be much, much more exploratory and use examples of the past to see how West is integrated with the East. I mean, it's lovely what you did, but and I'm sure it took you a long time to do, and when you play it and when you're working on it and when you're thinking about it, it gives you enormous joy. And that in itself is a very valued thing. Like I was in the garden this weekend and shaping flowers and cutting lawn and weeding, and it's an enormously self-fulfilling experience. But if you're wanting to write a piece for other people to listen to, then I think you've got to rethink your idiom when it comes to wanting to express something about, raga music or gagaku. And it has to be more than just pulling out a tom-tom, and popping it between your legs and beating it. It has to be more than that. It has to be truly integrated to be able to say something. So I want you to take it to the next level in terms of musical language to express your obviously passionate feelings about multiculturalism. That's what I want to say.
Thank you very much, David, for these comments. Ian, do you have any questions to the judges?
Yes, I was trying to. I inspire a lot from Mussorgsky pictures at the exhibition, and in this theme, actually, I was inspired in Taiwan, the national park, the birds, the symbol of Taiwan. So it's not really, really Chinese, but it's an Oriental flavor for the original theme. But then on May this year, I toured Turkey, and Turkey has a lot Silk Road, and which is you can see the influence from Western culture and Eastern culture, how they're integrated. So I was thinking that's the piece I really want to play. It's not because Yo-Yo Ma did a Silk Road ensemble, but I just want to see how I can integrate the different culture, because all these countries I traveled to. So for the India, which is for me as a Christian, I try to imitating the Buddhism, how they do the Amidofu. That's why inside the instrument I put a Amidofu, that kind of sound. And I did study, try to understand the Indian music. For Japan, because during the Silk Road time, it's just the music for the imperial. It's for the imperial court. So they always have a big celebration. So I started with the drums. Then later I'm trying to imitating the like a Chinese instruments, guzheng, but it's koto in Japan. So how these, I would say David conductor, you're right, because I've been in this Western music much longer than Eastern music. So that is the music language that I need to, how to convince the audience. So I appreciate that point. Yeah. Thank you for all the feedback.
I would add that I think the essence is there, and I think recognizing what you have to do is 50% of solving the issue. So I would completely agree, and I think you're going in the right direction. You just now need to take it one more step that way.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you very much, Yin, for bringing this very
Thank you so
interesting
much.
composition to everyone's attention. It's always such a pleasure to present music by living composers and new ideas. It's wonderful. And thank you, judges, for the
Thank
comment.
you.
Yes, this concludes our 7th session of the auditions for the performances in the Weill Recital Hall at Carnegie Hall. As part of our 7th concert season at that venue for 24-25. And I have a few announcements. Judges, please stay on. I'd like to invite you after the few announcements, which I'll make, to make some concluding comments, because this is our last session for this set of auditions, and we have more coming up. First of all, I want to mention to everyone who's watching, the auditions is a very major and important part of virtual concert halls and progressive musicians productions, but that's not the only one. We also bring to your attention music films, music programs, music and musicians around the globe, where we introduce artists from different countries. We interview them, we present their performances and their own original music. We also have a whole set and variety of music talk shows. And so with that, I'll give you a quick eclectic introduction to a variety of seasons and shows which we present every day. We are live every day on various platforms. One of the series of programs which we present is based on the films Magnificent Nine, as you can see on the screen. This is dedicated to Beethoven's 9 symphonies. This series of films was produced by Virtual Concert Halls in collaboration with Architects of Music and their founders, Steve Robinson, who is the very renowned radio producer, and his programs are still being played in the radio stations around the world. He's the producer of the Magnificent 9 series of programs. Also, the programs were designed and narrated by Lawrence Rabchak. And I would like to mention quickly, Lawrence Rabchak worked for decades as pre-concert lecturer for the Chicago Symphony. And if you were lucky enough to live in Chicago during that time, you could come to the concert and hear his lectures live in person at the concert hall. But now every one of us is lucky. We don't have to live in Chicago. We can get acquainted with his incredible style, with wit and humor and a wealth of information about Beethoven and about what went into Beethoven's thinking, into this genius's approach to symphonic structure and building those masterpieces. So this is a quick preview of what these programs are.
It is terse, it is compact. Its dynamic energy is concentrated into a mere 9.5 minutes of music, the shortest opening movement of Beethoven's 9 symphonies. And it's all the more stunning because of the bold, unprecedented way in which it begins. Known to practically every living being on Earth. It's that powerful. And certainly the fifth contains the same sort of revolutionary musical outlook and language as the Eroica. And the Fifth Symphony's main key of C minor definitely evoked powerful creative impulses from the composer, as we saw in the second movement, Funeral March of the Eroica. But I don't know that there's much point in doing any more detective work here. It's all been done by others. Beethoven's iconic opening motive, the group of 4 unison notes, is not something that he necessarily invented for this symphony. Beethoven used this same basic motive for the first movement of his great 4th piano concerto, which also appears in the same sketchbooks with the 5th Symphony, the same 4-note pattern. I'm sounding much different, yes? Mozart used the same motive 20 years earlier in the first movement of his equally great C major piano concerto, number 25.
very proud of all this work which my team had done on these films together. It's a 3-year long project working with Lawrence Rapchak and Steve Robinson on these films. Each one is a full footage 90-minute film. And in these programs, I myself and Chris Au are watching chapters of each of the films dedicated to one of the movements or sometimes two, and we exchange our impressions of what what we just observed. So you will hear from Lawrence Rapchak with all the samples and in-depth analysis with a lot of historical examples and anecdotes included, and then myself and Chris Au giving our own commenting on top of it. The next line of shows which I would like to introduce is jumping over 200 or 250 years to the present time. And that show is led by one of our esteemed judges, Jack Price, formerly known as Dikran Atamyan, a famous pianist, who is presenting his own line of music talk shows, Jack Price is Right, or JPR. And those are focused on modern day problems and issues and analysis of what it takes for the artist to become the artist, to become great, to become courageous enough to present themselves to the world, and what it takes to build a career. So this is a quick preview of those shows. Every week on Friday, we come up with a new episode, and you can watch them really in real time, or you can watch the replays anytime after. We are in the midst of course, auditions dedicated to performance opportunities at the Weill Recital Hall at Carnegie Hall in our season. And I wanted to just summarize with this little trailer. That's a very quick summary. Of course, there's a lot more going into it, and everyone who steps on the virtual stage and is experiencing the new format of the virtual stage is aiming at being invited and selected to perform on the physical stage of the famed Carnegie Hall. We also produce internet TV broadcasts from concert organizations around the world, whether it being soloists, solo recitals, chamber ensemble concerts, orchestral concerts, and operatic presentations from different countries and from everywhere. Internet TV is a new age network where we broadcast on social media and video platforms, as well as many websites. So here's a quick example of that kind of work. And that, of course, brings me to announcing what is the very next event which we are going to be presenting. The very next event, a large event, is again the auditions. This time for the opportunity to perform with orchestras around the world. The project is called Call Orchestra. Obviously meaning call with orchestra, and that project is dedicated to opening up the opportunities and building more network and more connections between the orchestras the conductors, music directors of those orchestras, and new names, soloists, instrumental soloists, vocal soloists, as well as living composers. This project is currently in its third season, and our network of orchestras is growing. We're very pleased to see that the idea of opening the opportunities through auditions to everyone who feels compelled and feels prepared and ready for taking such stages, and then connecting those individual musicians with ensembles, and programming those according to the orchestra's interests and, of course, their knowledge of their audience. We are very pleased to see that this new idea, which we started 3 seasons ago, is growing and getting traction and getting interest from both the music directors of the orchestras and the soloists. And as you can see on the screen, the changing visuals are these are the orchestras, which some of them had been with us 3 seasons ago, and in the last season we had concerts in the Cairo, Egypt, and we had a concert at the in Zlin in Czech Republic, and we had an orchestra in the United States, the Western Europe Chamber Orchestra. And this season we have 16 orchestras which joined us, and you can see the names of some of the most formidable conductors of current times who are interested in your presentation, in your possibilities, in your voice, in the what new orchestra you bring on stage. They are interested, they are welcoming, and their ensembles, the orchestras are welcoming new artists. So please don't forget, deadline to apply for those call orchestra auditions is November 21st, and the live finals of the auditions for all of those who will be invited for the finals is through December 13th through 16th. And you will be able to meet, just like today, similar format. You'll be able to meet the orchestra music directors, soloists, pianists and other instrumentalists, as well as composers, who will be members of our judges panel, sharing their expertise in the live, unfiltered, immediate comments with you. You will be able to speak with them and argue with them and ask them any questions you would like. Also, I want to mention that these events are, in some sense, are musicians' fairs, like other in other industries. Of course, the vendors and those who are interested in the new technology, for example, they go to those fairs where people can meet and make connection, find out what's new in the field, and network. So we view those audition events also as an opportunity for everyone to network in our profession. So feel free to make connections. Everyone who participates in our judges panels and every organization which participates in those projects are very welcoming and very open to make connections, and maybe there's a spark and you will bring your own project and you'll find collaborators to make that project into reality here. Also, I want to extend many, many thanks to our collaborators. For the past 5 years, we were blessed with the interest and support from so many organizations around the world. You see the screen is filled with the logos and pictures and names of companies and organizations. And I want to thank the people behind those pictures and those labels, because everything is done by the human interest and human energy. Thank you so much for supporting our initiative, for being part of this growing family of musicians-led companies and organizations, and for working together with us on expanding more connections for artists and arts organizations around the world. We are broadcasting through internet TV networks on all major platforms. Now our channels count has grown to 50 plus, and we are on video platforms, on social media platforms, and we are also on curated platforms which cater to their own audiences, be it music lovers, music professionals, music educators in different countries. And again, we are very grateful for the support and for high praise for our content to be placed on the curated platforms. And last and not least, before I say thanks to the fabulous team, I would like to bring back our wonderful judges. This is the last session of this round of live finals for the auditions, and you've been with us for the past 2 weeks. Thank you so much for all the expertise and your generosity with sharing your comments with the candidates. And if you have any closing remarks, I would like to welcome those. Let's go up on the screen. Jack, please, your remarks for ending today's our last session. So, please.
Remarkable the level throughout the competition since last January, for example. I mean, you know, there's some really phenomenal playing and compositions that never get to see the light of day except through something like this. And this has been a long time in coming. You know, I mean, it's like somebody had to do something about the old model, you know. And so that's, you know, my hat's off to you and the crew and everybody. It's really amazing, in my opinion. Some people would say, oh, well, you know, they're always distractors or detractors. So sorry, my English is escaping me. But I think that this is a really important program. And that's why, you know, I got involved, because it's got to be done, because there are just too many people that are going unnoticed, and very few slots for them to be plugged into. You know, the slots are diminishing. People know what I mean by slots, you know. If you add up all the opera gigs and the piano gigs and the chamber music gigs and the guest solo gigs with orchestra and chamber music, yeah, it's difficult. So creating new venues and new series and new opportunities, it's creation. That's what has to happen. We have to create more of these events or slots so people can be plugged into them. If we don't, yeah, we're going to find ourselves with a gray-haired industry that's going, like mine, you know. Let's see, my hair is pretty gray, and I kind of think I'm still 12 years old, but you know, I look in the mirror and I'm not, you know. So, you know, and you know, I mean, we have to get not so much the little kids, not so much the education at the high school or the grade school level, but the older people have to start thinking about the future, because they're going bye-bye. And so they're the ones that have to create. I mean, you can't ask a 12-year-old to create a series. You know, you've got to do it, and quit passing the buck, you know, and saying, well, you know, we'll let that guy do it. You know, we'll let Bernstein talk about the Norton lectures and omnibus and all that, which he was phenomenal at. And he was the last guy we had that sold this industry. Nobody else sold it like Leonard Bernstein. I mean, he was the ultimate. He made it possible for the pop culture and the sophisticates to understand this language, you know, serious music. So you're doing a great thing. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jack. Giovanna,
Yes.
do you have
so
some closing comments for this series of auditions?
I just want to thank you for providing this amazing platform to let our judges to see so many talented, amazing musicians to come here to show their talent, to show off their music performance and expressions. I'm really grateful for this platform. Yes.
Thank you, Giovanna. David, last but not least, you have some closing comments for this series of auditions.
Well, I would second what Giovanna and Dikran has said. It's a wonderful thing that your company has created. What springs to mind of particular beauty is this is a platform, is a non-confrontational inclusive and educational experience, I think, for those participating. It's a form. Yes, it is to a certain extent has a competitive element to it, which is, I think, a good thing. But it's like getting a masterclass from my colleagues who are wonderful musicians coming from very, very different perspectives of the industry, and that is almost unique. Yes, you can go to a Dikran Atamium masterclass, and you'll get a couple of hours of piano insight, or go to Giovanna, and we'll get the operatic perspective. But these whoever is on the panel at any given moment, you're getting a multi-dimensional constructive. The people involved are getting a multi-dimensional constructive critique, as well as competing, and as well as not on small occasions, leading to a further collaboration and performances in America, in the USA, in Europe, and elsewhere. So it's an extraordinary program that you have here, Anna, and credit to you and your team.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Giovanna. And I want to say thank you, everyone else who were not judging today. We have a panel which consists of nearly 100 artists from nearly every part of the world, and that energy is just like a tsunami, unstoppable, because we all add something unique from our experience, from our aspirations, from our view of where we want to take this industry. And I take your compliment for real. I believe you. I believe in our project, and I believe that the energy of all the people involved is producing some fruitful results, and we will be continuing with moving forward these opportunities for everyone. So, and with that, I would like to thank you all. I also would like to thank our fantastic team of musicians and producers of all these programs. Thank you all very, very much. Today we had a large team working on this production. It's a complicated production, of course. And every time we go live, we have pianists and conductors and composers and singers and all different professional artists working on the back end. They are professionals also in this complicated technology and production protocols and everything. And this is the beauty of it. When you come to our green rooms, you are met by audio video broadcast producers and engineers who are professional musicians, so they understand your needs. So, and with this, I'm saying goodbye, but only for a very short period. As I said, our channels are live every day with different programs, and we will be broadcasting from New York for the rehearsals from the orchestras, and very soon, in just less than 2 weeks, we'll be broadcasting from Florence with one of the conductors of our program conducting 2 concerts in Florence there. And please visit our website and everything to find out more. Subscribe to our channels to get a ping when we are live. And if you like our channels, please leave us a note of encouragement. And if there's something you see we can improve, please leave that note too. We're always looking for more and better. Thank you all, and I'll see you soon. Bye.